Hello, it's Gail here from 3 Wise Crafters and welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to do an unboxing of the new Spellbinders Platinum Scout die cutting and embossing machine. I've been lucky enough to get one of these in advance, so we're going to have a look together at what's in the box. I haven't opened this yet, so we can all see together what's inside. So the first thing that we have is the warranty card, and if you register your machine following the directions, you'll receive $5 off your next purchase. So make sure you do that. Then there is an instruction booklet included inside as well. And then we have some dies. We'll just move the box out of the way. We have some dies, an embossing folder which goes the length of our plate system, and this is the universal plate system that's included as well. So we'll have a bit of a look at these also. So also that's sitting there is the Allen key, screws, washer, and the little stopper that goes in the end of your handle. And sorry that this is going to get close to the camera. And then we have a little baby Scout inside. And I pick this up easily with one hand. Isn't she cute? Look how small that is. I've got very small hands, and that is where my hands go on it. So this is so cute, and it actually has the handle already installed for you and the plug. So these ones in this bag here that I showed you before are extras just in case you lose these ones, which is really good. So we can just open the platform parts of the Scout just like we do with our 6-inch platinum die cutting machine or our extra large die cutting machine, depending on which one that you have from Spellbinders. So inside we have this little die set which will fit through our Scout die cutting machine, and the sentiment is best wishes, and then you have the flower and the leaf elements to be able to adhere them on these areas here on our sentiment, just to add a little bit of colour. And then you could use these flowers and leaves individually on a card project as well. So here we've got an embossing folder. The embossing folder is 8.5 inches long and it's 2.75 inches wide, and it's quite detailed embossing folder, so you could have a lot of fun with this. And some of the flower elements from the die set would be able to be used on here as well on your embossed project. So this will fit through our little Scout die cutting machine, and we might have a little bit of a go at making a card with the Scout die cutting machine. So I have the plates that are included with the Scout, and we have a shim, adapter plate, embossing mat, 2 cutting plates, the platform top with sandwich guides for embossing folders, and that includes standard and 3D embossing folders, and a platform base which has our sandwiches for embossing a cut shape and to die cut. So I have my card panel to go in the embossing folder trimmed to 2.75 inches by 5.5 inches this way. And that'll fit then on an A2 card panel. So I'm just going to place my cardstock in the embossing folder up near the top, just so that I can make sure that it's pretty straight. Going to place that onto our platform base and place the adapter plate on top. And I'm going to make sure that I have my plates lined up really straight when I go through the Scout, as the Scout prefers that your plates are evenly spaced together and not askew. So just make sure that you keep that in mind if you have any difficulties going through your Scout die cutting machine. Now that was pretty easy to run it through. If you do experience any difficulties, just bring your embossing folder back a little bit. You need to allow the Scout room to be able to grab onto our plates up the top as it's going through the machine. So just make sure that you give it room and try moving your embossing folder back a little bit if you do experience any difficulties. So we can see the texture that the embossing folder gives to our card panel. And there's a lot of detail on there, and I'm going to use a white pigment ink just over the top just to bring it up a little bit and just add a little bit of finer detail to our cardstock. So I've just moved the Scout off to the side, and I've just got a silicone mat here and some Lawn Fawn Yeti pigment ink, and I'm just going to run that over the top of our card panel that we've just done, and hopefully we will not get ink everywhere. Just do this gentle, otherwise you will end up with ink on areas that you do not want it. And you can see how this highlights all the raised embossed areas on our card front. So you can go as heavy and apply as much ink as you want, but you may get it in other areas if you press it too hard, like I'm starting to now, but I don't mind the effect that this gives our card. So here you can see how much detail the pigment ink gives to our embossed card piece, and I really like how this looks. And now we're going to use the included dies with the Scout and do the sentiment, and then we're going to put a card together very quickly. So I just have some trimmed down little pieces of scrap cardstock that I have. I keep all of my cardstock in little pockets like this, and I keep absolutely everything. So I will keep a piece of scrap cardstock like this, and I make use of every little bit that I can if it's at all possible. So I have my platform base here, and I'm just going to follow the sandwich for die cutting, which is a platform base, platform top, cutting plate, paper, cardstock, a cutting die with the cut side down, and then a second cutting plate on top. So I'm going to place my base plate onto the platform a bit, just so that when I place my cardstock and the dies, it's got a surface to sit on, and then I'll start making our sandwich. And I'm lining up the plates as I make the sandwich, just so that it's smoother to go through our Scout. And then if need be, I can move our platform back a little bit to put our cardstock and our dies down. So I'm just moving our biggest one down because I don't want it up near the top and moving as it goes through the die cutting machine. And then I'm going to do the flowers, and I've just got some pink cardstock here that I have in my stash, and I should be able to cut out of the green one twice for the leaves, and I'm not sure how many times I will need to do the die cutting at this stage, because I'm not sure how many flowers we're going to need to do our card. Okay, so now we just need to place our top cutting plate on. And then holding that all together, I can run that through our die cutting machine, our little Scout. Now, these are new plates, so you would have heard some crackling. That's just the dies cutting into our new plates. So the recommendation is that you try and keep one plate clean, your top plate, and just cut into your bottom plate. And that way you'll always have a clean top plate for die cutting on foil. Foil will end up getting abrasions in it and other texture that you don't want and ruin the look of your finished card. So once we take that off, that is our sentiment that we can stick our flowers on. And we'll just take the rest off. So I've just set aside our die cuts. I've decided I'm just going to stick with this pink colour and I'm not going to add too much detail to our card. I'm just going to do a quick and simple card today. So I have an A2 card base here just in a light blue colour, and I've gone ahead and I've already put down some 3M Scotch foam tape on the back, and we'll just stick that to our card base, and then we can add on our sentiment and the flowers and leaves onto it as well. And I'm just putting some Gina Connect glue that I have in a fine tip bottle, just to give us a little bit more wriggle room, just in case I don't place it down properly. And having the glue on there just allows us to maneuver it a little bit if we need to change the position. So I think that looks pretty straight, although our card is slightly off a little bit here, and that's okay. I can trim that off a bit later. So I have our sentiment here, and I'm just going to adhere that here in the middle of our card. And you could do multiple die cuts of the sentiment and layer them and have this raised as well on your card, which would be quite effective too, and add just a bit more dimension. I think the embossing folder gives us enough dimension though. And I'm just going to use Gina Connect glue for this. There is no way I would be able to stick this straight on with foam squares. It's way too thin, so you would need to die cut multiple layers to be able to raise up this particular sentiment. Sometimes you can use foam squares or foam strips and it will work okay, but not with this particular sentiment. So once we have all the glue applied on here, we'll be able to stick this to our embossed piece, which to me looks quite good on our card base, and it stands out. The white pigment ink actually sort of tones down the blue to match our pale blue cardstock underneath, so I quite like the effect that that has. So this is a little bit fiddly to do this. I'm not sure whether die cutting it and lining it up would be easier, but give it a go. There's no harm in trying. So I'm just going to see whether that's relatively center, or I think I need to move it over a little bit. That looks a little bit better, and then I can just glue that down. Now, because it is fine detail, I might just need to hold it down a little bit to get it to adhere, especially if the pigment ink is still wet a little bit. And then we can start sticking on our flowers. So I might do a few leaves as well, and before that other glue dries completely, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue underneath here and stick a flower there, I mean a leaf there, and a little one. Using your tweezers would make this a lot easier to put your leaves underneath as well. Okay, so I'm probably going to need a few more leaves, so I might go ahead and die cut those. So I ended up die cutting the leaves out twice more, and this should allow me enough leaf for the flowers that we have on our sentiment. So I'm just going to stick these in different areas as well. And it would help if I put some glue on the bottom as well, and then that will just help our sentiment adhere to the leaves and our leaves adhere to our embossed panel. So I'm going to try and put some smaller leaves under this flower here. I'm not sure if it will work or not, but we can only try. So how many of you plan on getting a little scout, or do you feel that you already have enough die cutting machines that you don't need a little scout? And we need a couple more leaves, I think, up on this flower here, and we might do another leaf down in this area, or over in this bit, I think. So you can see that this card hasn't taken us that long to put together, and I believe that Spellbinders will be coming out with a lot more dies and other products for the Scout as well. I believe that there is some more products coming out in the July release from Spellbinders that will fit within the Scout die cutting machine as well. So make sure you keep your eyes out for those. And Spellbinders actually has a sale on at the moment on their clearance. You get an extra 15% off their clearance products that are already marked down, and I am sure that there is some dies and that in there that will fit as well, especially the dies. So I'm just going to make use of this leaf and put it down here. I don't think I've got enough room over here to put another leaf, so I think gluing everything together has been the longest process with this card. So if you have ordered the Scout, let me know. Leave me a comment below and let me know whether you've ordered the Scout die cutting machine or not, or whether you're just going to wait and see. So now I'm just going to glue our flowers on. You could have glued this on before you glued the sentiment to the card. It may have been a little bit easier, but I don't really tend to do things the easy way. Now, a pickup tool would have been easier to place the flower centers on, but I can't be bothered getting mine out, so I'm just going to try my best. So we're nearly finished our card. We've just got this last flower center to adhere, and there we go. There is our finished card. It's a bit hard to, it's a bit hard to see the sentiment, but you can see it there in that light, and it really stands out, the embossing folder with the white pigment ink over the top. So if you haven't tried that before, give it a go. I have the Totally Tiffany toolbox here. It's 9 inches wide and 4 inches high, and it fits the Spellbinders Scout in it very easily, and the plates fit up the top, which makes this easy to be able to pack away and store, or to take travelling with you if that's what your preference is. I hope you've enjoyed watching today's video on the unboxing of the Spellbinders Platinum Scout die cutting and embossing machine, and seeing how this card was created using the embossing folder and the dies that are included with this version of the Platinum Scout. If you've enjoyed today's video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel while you're there. All the supplies used in today's video are listed in the description below, so make sure that you check that out as well. Thank you so much for watching.